What you guys really need is one more presentation on metadata. I can tell you're fired up and excited, but it is so important. And before I start, I just wanted to give a big thank you to Bernie and Patrick and the team at WorldDAB. Another fantastic summit, I'm sure you'll agree. And they've even got the timing right because they've managed to time it just a few days before the World Cup starts. So people around London, very happy, optimistic, excited about the future. If they'd have done it 2 weeks later, we'd be out and everyone would be as miserable as sin. So congratulations to the WorldDAB team. I'm going to talk a bit about metadata and the DAB Plus experience. I'm going to cover three things. I'm going to show you a bit of data from a recent stakeholder survey that we conducted about the priorities for radio in car. I'm going to talk a bit about what one leading broadcaster is doing to enhance the experience for their stations in car dashboards. And then I'm going to show you some images of a new experience, DAB Plus experience from a car manufacturer. Just initially, I'm just going to start by, I'm going to start just by giving you a bit of background to Radioplayer. For those of you that don't know, we are a non-profit broadcaster-backed organisation. We have around 15 countries, part of Radioplayer at the moment, mainly in Europe, and there'll be more to come soon. We do have consumer products like mobile apps, web players, integrations with smart speakers and voice. But our main aim now is to focus on keeping radio strong in the car. And we do that through collaborations and partnerships with the car companies. So the car companies know that when they're talking to Radioplayer, they're talking to our network of broadcasters that are part of Radioplayer. We have two current partners, the brilliant Cariad, and you just heard from Gregor representing VW Group, and BMW Group. And between them, these guys represent about just over a third of the new car sales market in Europe. And we reckon there's about 2 million cars on Europe's roads today that are powered by Radioplayer. And our focus is on the radio button experience. That's the broadcast radio button experience, which we believe has to be hybrid. That's where DAB Plus and FM works together with the internet for the richest experience. And that should really be the standard now, but we also want to collaborate with our partners on creating a vision for what radio should look like in the longer term in the car, and that's really important to us. So, that's a bit about Radioplayer. I mentioned the stakeholder survey. So, in the last few weeks, we've conducted a very short and focused survey amongst our stakeholders. So that's car manufacturers, tier 1 technology suppliers, and also broadcasters. We had around 50 respondents. And we were asking them about what they thought the priorities for keeping radio strong in the car in the short term, let's say the next couple of years, and the longer term, let's say 5 years and beyond are. We gave them a list of about 10 options and also the ability to put in what they thought if it wasn't there, if there was something else they wanted to add. And the percentages that you'll see on here, just to be clear, we asked them for the top 3 or the top 5 priorities, but they didn't rank them, so they weren't weighted. So the percentages relate to the amount of times that option was chosen. So the first question we asked were, what are the short-term priorities for a great broadcast radio user experience? And to my great relief, given that I'm talking about metadata, it came out top. And I guess that's great to hear, and it's also really, really important that people are recognising all the things that have been said already on the platform this afternoon about the importance of metadata. Second was hybrid radio with seamless switching. Now, the brilliant guys at Cariad, their hybrid radio does seamless switching. That's where you can move around, drive around. If you move out of broadcast coverage, the radio will switch to the internet, so you always keep the listener engaged. And thirdly was prominent access to broadcast radio, and I'm going to come back to that theme. So that top 3 is good to see, and I suspect quite unsurprising in the short term. What's interesting is I also took a quick look at what the split was between what broadcasters said as opposed to what the automotive guys said. And I said of the 50, it was roughly half and half in terms of that split. And you can see that the top 3 are the same. There's a slightly different order. The broadcasters are very heavily focused on prominence and easy access to radio, and I guess that's kind of unsurprising. But a lot of consistency and alignment there between broadcasters and the automotive industry. We then asked them about the longer term future, and I think here there was a bit slightly less alignment. And we asked them to pick a top 5 factors that would help keep radio strong in the car. And this is what we said about. Now you can see the percentages are a bit flatter. That's partly because we asked for a top 5, but also because I think there was less agreement on across what the priorities are. So top here was allowing users to move from broadcast radio to more content from a specific show, station or broadcast group. That might be something akin to what Gregor was just talking about there. It could be podcast on demand content. Metadata came in at number 2, new enhanced metadata. David was talking a bit about that, and again, that's important because that plays the critical role that metadata has in the future. Number 3 was regulation to ensure more prominence and access for radio in the car. And actually, in the last few months, we have heard from senior broadcasters at various events talking about this. So maybe, again, unsurprising to see it there. Collaboration between broadcasters and car manufacturers was number 5. And then we also saw car-optimized streams from broadcasters, offering high-quality audio and surround sound. And if you're sitting in a car that could have over 40 speakers in it, it's the perfect environment to get high-quality sound and enhance the radio experience. Now, what was really interesting is this was what everybody said. When you look at the split between broadcasters and car manufacturers, there is less alignment than we saw in the previous answer. So the things that jump out here, firstly, well, metadata is in there in the top 5 across both, which is really good. Joint top for the automotive side, but it comes in a bit lower for broadcasters. You can see there prominence regulation, a lot of alignment and consistency in the view from the broadcasters on that. And there were some other things like monetization, like personalization, that the automotive guys felt were important. But I think it's just an interesting snapshot and take about where the industry is regarding the priorities in car, and there's no doubt that metadata is key. Now, I want to then just talk a little bit about a major content creator, the BBC, and what they're doing to really enhance the experience for their radio stations in car dashboards. And this is their syndication of real-time metadata. So for those of you who don't know, BBC is a founder member of Radioplayer and a board member today. And they put critical importance on the experience of their stations in the car. And this initiative is about now playing data. It's about getting track, artist information, artwork, slideshow images into the car in real time. And the way they've done it is that they've worked within the Radio DNS Technical Committee on a server-sent events standard, which is now going through ETSI, and you can see the number of the standard there. And I think once that standard has been ratified, this feed of data will be available to BBC partners and primarily for use in the car, providing they have signed a distribution agreement with the BBC. And just want to share with you, if this is going to work, this video might not blow your hair off, but it is really, really important because it's a demonstrator of what is actually happening. This is a sort of proof of concept. So if I play it now, hopefully this will, yeah. So what you can see, this is a snapshot. This is the kind of the live metadata flow that this, the fire hose of data will be provided by the BBC to their partners. And you can see their track and artist now play. You can see slideshow images coming through. This is coming from national and local BBC stations in real time. And if anyone wants to know more about this, there's a guy called Nick Humphrey at the BBC. I'm very happy to provide you with his contacts if you want to know more about how they're using the standard and maybe even do the same if you're a broadcaster who is interested. So that's sort of content provider. Now I just want to finish with an example of what we think is a good DAB Plus experience in the car today. And you've just seen one of our partners, Carriad, and what Gregor showed about their images. So hide your eyes, Gregor. I'm going to talk now about BMW, our other partner, and just give you a look inside one of their new cars that launched with metadata powered from the Radioplayer, Worldwide Radioplayer API, and metadata from our broadcasters. And this launched in the last couple of months, and this is the BMW iX50. Just to start, you can see the nice big dashboard screen. You can see on the left-hand side there the really prominent radio tile, and just go back to the that feedback in the survey that we saw there about the importance of prominence for broadcasters. It's a more difficult conversation to have, but this, when you start the car up, that's what you'd see. It is configurable, but nonetheless, that's a nice prominent example of how radio can be found and accessed. Then if you want to search for the stations, there is an A to Z station list. This is DAB and FM stations. This radio will default to DAB Plus first, and go to FM. Deduplicated, you can see the station logos there in the list, and the big station logo on the right. It's very easy to set the presets. You can probably just see the little star in the top right-hand corner. So again, very simple and easy to use, but rich with metadata. You can configure it if you want, so that the station branding will appear on the instrument cluster. That's the steering wheel across the top there. So you can configure it that way if you want. But what's really nice about, I think, about what BMW have done is their high-resolution dashboard screen will pick up the colours of the station logo, for example, and then enhance that. And I think it really means that the branding, the station branding, just jumps out at you. There's an example of Radio X. It's another example of BBC Radio 3, and I think that's quite a nice touch. And if a broadcaster is, well, first of all, this radio will look on air for now playing data. If not, they will look to Radioplayer for that. And if a broadcaster is sending us their now playing data, and they're sending us an image to go along with that, then that will be shown. If they're not, then we can enhance that with an image from our fully licensed artist image library that you can see there. And again, it just adds to that experience in the car. So I just wanted to share those images with you. Again, that's a new implementation. BMW, we're very proud of it, and I think they are too. I hope you agree. So just to finish, just to summarise, metadata, as you've heard already, is absolutely critical to radio's future in the car. There are many broadcasters that are doing a fantastic job of getting that metadata to the car manufacturers through organisations like Radioplayer, and the BBC initiative I've just shown is a good example of that. And you know, we're at Radioplayer working really hard to collaborate with the car manufacturer partners and the broadcasters to keep radio strong in the car. And of course, don't come to London in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.